I'm excited to rank for you guys the 10 offenses that the NFL has no answers for entering this season. These are my projections for who the top 10 offenses in the league will be this year. Starting with the Denver Broncos at number 10. They don't have a bunch of household names on their offense, but they do have one of the best offensive minds in the history of the league, and Sean Payton getting Bo Nix for a second season. And Bo Nix statistically had the greatest rookie season ever, but it was overshadowed with how much success Jaden Daniels had in the postseason. Now, Bo Nix builds off what he did in year one. With Sean Payton calling the plays, he could be good enough to insert himself into the MVP conversation. It also helps that the Broncos have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. They got a pretty formidable running back duo that defenses are going to have to account for when you take in that Bo Nix is also going to be a factor running the ball. You got J.K. Dobbins, who's coming off a comeback season with the Chargers, and R.J. Harvey was a day 2 selection out of UCF that Sean Payton is really high on, really good, making defenders miss. He's really good after contact. The Broncos at receiver, outside of Cortland Sutton, there's not a bunch of household names here, but look out for rookie wideout Pat Bryant out of Illinois, who could be an instant impact rookie for them right out the gate. He's a really good route runner, has really good size. He can win deep balls, and he can win those red zone one-on-ones for Denver. So there's a lot that you have to take into account when you're going up against this Broncos offense. Let's not forget about Evan Ingram, who is an underrated free agency signing. He's going to be that joker that Sean Payton loves, who he can just use as a versatile chess piece on this offense. He could have some of the best seasons of his career playing in Denver now that he has the best play caller that he's ever played with. At number 9, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have one of the most talented offenses in the NFL. I have them rated a lot lower than what some of you guys probably would have them due to them losing their offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, to the Jaguars head coaching job. They're going to be on their 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years, so it's kind of hard to see the offense sustaining the level of success that they've had over the past 2 years with Dave Canales and Liam Cohen at the helm, but I'm not expecting that big of a drop-off with how much talent the Buccaneers have at receiver. This is the deepest receiving core in the NFL. From Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, they just have a bevy of riches for Baker Mayfield to throw the football to, which Baker Mayfield, let's talk about him. He's been absolutely balling out in Tampa these last couple of years. Last season was the best season of his career. He threw over 40 touchdowns. If he can get the turnover numbers down, he could become a top 6 quarterback in this league. The offensive line also is pretty good. Despite losing Tristan Wirfs for the first stretch of the season, they're going to be without him. But outside of that, there's really not too many weaknesses that the Buccaneers have on offense. Bucky Irving had a rookie season that nobody but me saw coming. He was my RB1 coming out of the 2024 draft class. Incredible vision, great contact balance. I expect him to have another 1,000-yard campaign. So the Buccaneers come in at number 9. At number 8, I got the Atlanta Falcons, which is going to be a surprise to a bunch of you all, but it really shouldn't be. They had a really good offense during the first half of 2024, but things went left when Kirk Cousins started being selfish, trying to play through an injury that he had no business playing through. He hurt the team. He threw away the NFC South title to the Buccaneers. With Michael Penix in, this offense is going to be more explosive when it comes to passing plays that result in 20 yards or more. In the 3 games that Michael Penix started in, he led all quarterbacks during that stretch in yards per attempt, plays that resulted in gains of 15 yards or more. He has one of the best arms in the National Football League. He has the ability to make throws that only 1% of quarterbacks have the ability to make. You also have Drake London, who's coming off the quietest 1,200-yard campaign that you will ever hear about. Bijan Robinson has already submitted himself as an elite running back. By the end of this season, he could prove to be the best running back in the league with how the Falcons are going to feature him more in the passing game. They also have a really good offensive line as well. Zach Robinson, I expect him to eventually be a candidate for a few head coaching jobs next year at the start of the offseason. He's a really good offensive coordinator. Raheem Morris brought him with him from the Rams. Anybody that you get from that Sean McVay coaching tree is automatic gold. So with him calling the plays, with the talent that Michael Penix has pushing the football downfield, with the personnel the Falcons have at receiver and running back, this is probably the most explosive offense in the league heading into this season. Number 7, I got Kansas City. Kansas City's offense, ever since they traded away Tyreek Hill, they haven't been what they used to as far as being able to generate a lot of explosive plays. But I believe we could see that change this season. They have a bunch of speed at receiver. You got Hollywood Brown, who missed the majority of last year due to an injury that he suffered in preseason. You got Xavier Worthy, the fastest receiver in the league at the moment. Rashee Rice, Jalen Royals. So there's a lot of talent and speed at the receiver position for Kansas City. Also, they improved their offensive line. They drafted Josh Simmons at the end of the first round in this past year's draft a few months ago. He's the closest thing that I've seen to Trent Williams as a draft prospect. That's been the biggest issue that has held back Kansas City's offense from being able to drop the bombs that they were dropping on teams when Patrick Mahomes first came into the league and took everybody by storm. Now teams are starting to play the Chiefs more conservatively with a bunch of too high coverages to take away those big plays downfield. But if you have a good offensive line that gives receivers more time to get open, you will see those explosive plays start to happen more frequently than what they've have come for Kansas City over the past few years. Isaiah Pacheco, I expect him to have a bounce back season as well. He missed a lot of time due to injury in 2024. Kansas City, we can see this offense look as good as what they've ever had with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Expect Patrick Mahomes to be right back in the MVP conversation, something that his name hasn't really been brought up in the past 2-3 seasons. Cincinnati, I got the Bengals at number 6. Why they are not higher is because their offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. Outside of Orlando Brown, everybody else in that offensive line is not really that good. We'll see how Amarius Mims comes along at right tackle. But you got Joe Shiesty, you got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. It's just going to be a gun show when you play up against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to be a battle of, for 60 minutes every Sunday, can you outscore Cincinnati? Their defense isn't going to be that good. With the amount of plays that their offense is going to have, they're not really going to have too much time to run the football with Chase Brown, despite how good he is, unless he can be more of a factor in the pass game. This is the definition of a pass-happy team. For them to be able to have success this year, they're going to have to do the same thing they did last year, outscore everybody, put 35, 40 points on every defense that they go up against. So despite the offensive line not being good, the run game probably not going to be that consistent. With Joe Burrow and the weaponry that he has at receiver, they still get elevated at 6 because there still is a bunch of issues that you have to worry about. Not just Joe Burrow, but Jamar Chase. What happens once he gets the ball in space is something special. He turns into a running back. It's just so much that you have to account for when you go up against this Bengals offense. Starting my top 5, I got the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams have gone a little bit under the radar with how talented their offense is. Devontae Adams is not washed. Despite playing for both the Raiders and the Jets, who were not good offensively, he still was able to put together a 1,000-yard campaign. You put him with Puka Nacua, who takes some of that pressure off him. One of these guys is going to be open every time Matthew Stafford drops back the pass, which Matthew Stafford still is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The only question with Matthew Stafford is, can he stay healthy? The offensive line for the Rams is still pretty good. Not as good as what it was last year. You still got a few issues to sort out, but for the most part, their offensive line is decent. They got Kyren Williams at running back, who's probably like the 7th or 8th best running back in the league. If he can get rid of the fumbles and the turnovers, then maybe he's in the conversation as a top 5 running back by the end of this season. Sean McVay is still calling plays. He's still the Rams head coach. He's the best play caller in the NFL at the moment. When you go up against the Rams with the different ways that Sean McVay can attack you, it makes this offense difficult to game plan for. Matthew Stafford can make a bunch of throws that only Patrick Mahomes can make and a handful of other quarterbacks, despite him getting really close to retiring. He isn't slowing down at all. The Rams are still one of the best offenses in the league that nobody wants to play on the given Saturday or Sunday. Number 4, I got the Detroit Lions. Now, despite losing Ben Johnson, I still don't think that the Lions are going to experience that big of a drop-off. Their new offensive coordinator was already on this staff 2-3 seasons ago, so there's already a good amount of familiarity with him and the personnel that the Lions have, which they still do have their core group of guys. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got J-Mo, who's one of the best deep threats in the league. Sam Laporta is one of the 5 best tight ends in the game at the moment. You got the Sonic and Knuckles combination at running back with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, although Jahmyr Gibbs has kind of exceeded David Montgomery with him just being the more explosive of the 2 backs. But David Montgomery still is a really good power back. The Lions still do have a really good offensive line also, with one of the best in the league. And Jared Goff, the past 2 years he's been in Detroit, he's played MVP football. He's had at least 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns or more during that span. So the Lions offense is still up there as one that not too many defenses are going to have answers for, even with the departure of Ben Johnson. The Chicago Bears, I have at number 3, which probably is going to be the biggest disagreement in the comment section due to Ben Johnson being unproven as a head coach. But I still believe that the play calling isn't going to change. If you're a good play caller, having a head coach shouldn't really affect that. You got more responsibilities, but the play calling is still going to be good. I still believe in Caleb Williams. I see him having the breakout season. He'll be the first Chicago Bears quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. He has a bunch of weapons to help him out. Colson Loveland, Cole Kmet at tight end. Colson Loveland is a great value brand version of Brock Bowers. Has a very similar skill set to him at receiver. You're throwing to Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, very underrated. Luther Burden, who was a day 2 selection. And the most important thing is how the Bears have improved the offensive line. I don't know how good the ground game is going to be. DeAndre Swift isn't really that good. We'll see if Roschon Johnson finally gets a good amount of carries this year. I expect for the Bears to be a more pass-heavy team than what they will be as a balanced team because of what they have at receiver, what they have at tight end, and Caleb Williams in year 2 with a head coach who last year had one of the best passing offenses in the league. Ben Johnson, when he was calling plays for the Lions in 2024, they were second in passing yards per game. So I expect with the personnel and the talent that the Bears have on offense to be top 3 in the NFL. Number 2, I have the Philadelphia Eagles for obvious reasons. This is a stacked offense, best offensive line in the league. You got a top 5 quarterback in Jalen Hurts. You got arguably the best receiving duo in the league for Jalen Hurts to throw to, A.J. Brown and Smitty. Let's not forget about Saquon Barkley, who just ran for over 2,000 yards. So obviously the Eagles got to be number 2. The Ravens are at number 1. They're not as talented as what the Philadelphia Eagles are in terms of high-end talent everywhere. We know about Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, which is why I have them at number 1. Derrick Henry is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Lamar Jackson is the most talented quarterback to ever put his hands on a football. With those two guys alone, they stress out opposing defenses, because when you play against Lamar and Derrick Henry, you have to essentially change your scheme in only the span of 5 days, because you just can't run a normal defense and contain Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. There's just so much that you have to worry about with those two in the backfield. It also helps that they signed DeAndre Hopkins in free agency. Yes, he's no longer in his prime, but as a third option behind Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman is coming off the best season of his career. DeAndre Hopkins should be able to benefit being a third option with a team that already has a bunch of good tight ends, also with Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. So DeAndre Hopkins should be able to benefit not being the focal point of our offense anymore, which makes him still a formidable addition for Baltimore. Baltimore also does have a really good offensive line, but with the threat of both Lamar and Derrick Henry, it makes the Ravens the number 1 offense that nobody in the NFL is going to have answers for in 2025. So give me your thoughts on my top 10 rankings of offenses that nobody in the NFL has answers for. If you disagree, all I ask is that you drop your top 10 rankings in the comment section below so we can compare.